guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited about this video today because I'm going to show you the Christmas card I made. Now every year I hope to make a custom Christmas card to give to everybody, and sometimes I end up not having the ambition and I buy a box of cards and just do it that way. But this year I did make a Christmas card. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So I thought I'd make a video and show you guys and show you the steps I took to create this card. So this is the Christmas card. There is some metallic. The deers are stamped and embossed with a metallic powder. So I'm hoping that you can really see. That's why I'm trying to turn it a bunch of different ways. That is what the card looks like. And this is what I'm going to show you how to make. So what you need to make this card is 2 pieces of patterned paper, and I happen to use a double-sided. So one has the snowflakes and the other one has this nice pretty design. And this particular paper is from Photo Clay, and it's their holiday cheer line, and this one's called Let It Snow. And so all you need is 2 patterned papers, whether it's double-sided or you have 2 separate ones. And I also used a metallic piece of cardstock in silver and a piece of black cardstock and white cardstock. And then you can take white cardstock and make your own card. Just use a bone folder to get the nice fold. Or you can buy them, the blank cards already made. So the first thing you would do is you would cut out the first pattern paper to get that first layer. And I didn't measure it, I just eyeball it. You know, I take the paper that I'm using and I just kind of place it on the card, leaving the space that I want, and then I just kind of mark with a pencil on the top and on the bottom, and then cut it the way I want it. So of course, to do all the cutting, you're going to need a paper cutter, and I have this one by Fiskars that I like to use, and you need stamps. So I used these awesome deer stamps, and this is a stamp set I got from Unity Company. It's Unity Stamp Company. They come in plastic bags like this, and I'll just take it out because the plastic's glaring. This is all the stamps that came in this particular kit, and they often have sales for like half off. And I happened to get this when they did a 50% off sale. So that's all the stamps that came in this kit, and I used 2 of the deer, 1 of the hollow and 1 of the solid deers. And then none of the sentiments for this kit worked for this card because they're so big, so I found one of my wooden stamps, and I just inked the Happy Holidays and just used that part of the stamp. So you'll need a stamp with your main picture that you're using, whether it be deer or a snowman or Santa Claus, anything really, and then 1 sentiment stamp. And the other thing you'll need is you'll need an embossing powder. I used clear. You can use a color if you want. And I used 2 different embossing powders. I used black and I used silver. You can, you know, change it up and use whatever colors you'd like. And I used just a few sequins, and I went with a thin ribbon. This is the ribbon I used. And of course you need a tape runner to adhere all of your cardstock layers, and then some type of liquid glue for the sequins. And of course you need a heat embossing tool. This is mine. It actually melted. Funny story. Our pipes froze one winter, and my boyfriend went under to thaw them out, and he decided to use this, and he left it on, and it ended up melting. But that's okay. It works perfectly fine. And if you're not using wooden stamps like this one, and you want to use acrylic stamps, or stamps that go on an acrylic block, you'll also need an acrylic block like this one that I have here. The first thing you would want to do is you would want to cut out this first layer, which I have already done. So I have mine pre-cut here and ready to go. And then you would adhere this onto the card. Well, I actually bought cards already cut. They come in a package like this, and you get the cards, and then you get the envelopes, and the cards come like this, and you just fold them. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my tape runner, and I'm going to adhere the first cardstock layer. So then you have your first layer. And then for the second layer, you want to take the black cardstock and just line it up and leaving as much space on the outside as you'd like, as your preference. And then you'd also take a different pattern paper and cut that so that there'll be just a thin black border. And I already have those cut as well. So I have my next layer here, the black, and then the snowflake pattern paper. So I'm going to adhere these two together, and what I did is I wanted these corners rounded, so I just took a corner punch, and what this does is it just punches. You take a regular piece of paper, and you put the corner in there, and it just rounds the corner for you. So then you adhere the next layer. Now you have this piece like that, and then you adhere the back of the black, and then place it onto the card. So then this is where you're at. Now for the next layer, I went quite a bit smaller, and I took the black in the white cardstock, and I also rounded the corners of these, and then I'll adhere these together. Now you have this layer, and I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping now before I adhere it onto the main card. So what you do at this step is you take whatever stamp you would like to use. I used these that go on an acrylic block. And then you take the clear or colored embossing powder. And there's a difference with inks. A fast drying ink will not work for embossing because it doesn't stay wet long enough for the powder to set onto the ink. So you need, you know, a special kind of ink for embossing. And then I just stamp up the image really good. And you just press down onto the stamp a couple of times until you know that the ink is evenly distributed onto the stamp. And then you stamp the image, and I stayed to one side. So I stayed to the left side on here. And then you just press firmly down to ink the image onto the paper. Then you take your embossing powder, and I usually have another paper underneath to catch it all and then to pour it back in. Embossing powder will last forever, usually $5 to $8 for an embossing powder. And you don't have to use two different ones like I did. You could just use the same one for both stamped images. And then you just pour it onto that stamped image and then shake it all off onto your paper that you have to catch it. Some spots might need touch-up. You just put a little more powder on those spots. And then you're going to have some excess powder kind of all around. You can just kind of tap it off like that. And sometimes I'll take like a little small paintbrush to get all of that excess powder off. Because you can, I don't know if you can see here, but there's some loose powder still around the image. So you can just take a really small brush and clean that up until you get it the way you want it. Another trick is you could take a dryer sheet and rub it onto the cardstock that you're stamping on, and it helps to pick up the loose powder so that it doesn't stick to the cardstock. Okay, so now this is the fun part, watching the transformation. Take your heat tool, let it warm up for a couple seconds, and then you just start putting the heat onto the stamped image, and then you'll watch it when it starts to work and set that powder and emboss it. Now you see it's starting to get shiny. This is my favorite part. It's just so amazing. Okay, so once that's all heated and all the stamped images are done, you're done with that step. So then I'll wait a couple seconds and then I will adhere this onto the card. I'm going to pour all that embossing powder back into the container and try to do it without making a mess. That's the thing, embossing powder can get a little messy. Oh man. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and adhere this piece onto the card. I'm just going to tie the ribbon into a bow around this stamped part of the card. Once you get your ribbon tied on there, you can cut the ends to have them whatever length you choose. So I'm just going to cut mine down a little. And again, I stayed on closer to this side here when I placed this, because I'm going to have my sentiment on this side. Okay, so now we're here. So now we have to do the sentiment, and for that, that's where I took the silver metallic cardstock, and I didn't measure it, I just kind of wung it, which is just how I prefer to do things when I do crafting. So I'm just going to cut a strip of that like this. Then I'm going to cut it right about here for the border. So now we have a piece like that, and that's definitely big enough. Actually, that's a little too big, so I'm going to cut it a little shorter. Now I'm going to ink the Happy Holidays just where it says that, and then stamp it onto a piece of white cardstock, and then I'll cut it out to fit the silver border. Now I'm going to take the heat tool and set that embossing powder. And now I'm going to cut that out into a square that'll fit into this silver border that we already cut. Okay, so now we have our cute little sentiment, and since there's a ribbon there, I'm going to place it, so it's going to go kind of across the ribbon. So I'm going to use little pop dots. They're foam adhesive dots, so you can use these to give it like a 3D effect. Okay, so that's what we have now. Now I'm just going to take 3 sequins and place them in that white space. And I'm just going to use this Tombow Mono Liquid Glue. And I'm going to place 3 glue dots onto the card. And then place 3 sequins on each one of the glue dots. And that's it. That is the holiday card. So this is pretty simple to make if you wanted to go that route and make homemade Christmas cards this year. And if you want me to list all of the products that I used, just let me know and I will. And let me know in the comments what you guys think of this card, if you like it, if you think you'd want to make something like this, if you're going to make Christmas cards this year, or if you're going to just, you know, get a box of cards and do it that way, which I've definitely done many years when I just didn't have the motivation or ambition to make cards. But I'm really happy with the way this card I'm really happy with the way this card came out, and so I wanted to make this video and show you guys. So thank you so much for watching. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up. I want to know if this is something that you like seeing on my channel, because I plan on doing cards for every holiday in the future. So just let me know, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button so you know when I make videos in the future. I have a lot coming your way. And thanks again, guys, for hanging out and watching and seeing how I made my Christmas cards this year. So until next time, bye!